Yeah, I thought start to finish was terrific. And also, want to congratulate the Celtics on a terrific season. Unfortunate injury to Jason Tatum, but they're a terrific organization, ownership, front office, coaching staff. Joe Mazzulla is a terrific coach, great players, first-class organization. Hats off to them for the season they had in defending their championship.
Coach, congratulations on getting to the Eastern Conference Finals. Would you say tonight's performance was the best in the postseason?
Probably, and we knew we would have to play 48 minutes against them. They're terrific on both sides of the ball. They play their style no matter what. And so they're not going to hand you anything. You have to earn it, and I felt that we did that.
Tom, it seemed from the start, and then even when the league got to 30, you guys were beating the loose balls and stuff. The urgency you had talked about, was that kind of on display there all game long?
Yeah, and again, it's how you respond to the challenge that's in front of you. And so, and we can't get carried away. Obviously, it's a great win, and we advance, and, you look at that, but you also understand you have to get ready for the next series. And we know that Indiana's a terrific team, and we're going to have to be ready.
Tom, you guys obviously, through the first few games of the series, dug a bunch of holes that you had to fight back from. Today, you guys jump out to a huge lead. Just was there a difference in approach? Did you sense that the team was going to come out?
You got to win games different ways. So every game's different. Then there's really no carryover from one game to the next, other than you have to be ready to win that game that particular night and understand, what you need to do in order to do that. And I think when you understand that part of it and you understand how important your preparation is, that gives yourself the best chance to win. So you learn from each game and you try to move it forward.
Tom, Mitch had a bunch of strong defensive possessions in that game. He had one in the first half where, transition closes out on Drew Holiday. Holiday ends up kicking to Brown in the corner. He takes away another three from Brown and then ends up getting the steal. What's going through your mind when you watch a guy with that length just be able to take away that many shots in a row?
He's very athletic. He anticipates well. But I thought overall our team commitment and defensive transition, guys were covering for each other. They were communicating really well, and they understood what we had to take away in order to win. And it doesn't really matter whether you're talking about defensive transition or you're talking about pick and roll defense. It has to be clean, and it has to be concise, and it has to be tied together. And so when you do that, particularly against a team that's as well versed as they are and with their ability to shoot and spread you out, you have to be very disciplined. And so I thought we were tonight.
Hey, Tom, Josh Hart, triple-double. What did you make of the way he impacted this game?
Yeah, and that's who he is. It's like he impacts the game a lot of different ways. Sometimes people get stuck on, well, he didn't shoot the ball or he didn't do this. Well, Josh, what he is a basketball player. So it's transition, it's the pace, it's playing out of the pocket, it's making corner threes, it's doing all those dribble handoff, hustle plays, offensive rebounds. And then defensively, just being everywhere and then coming up with big rebounds. And I think when you play with that kind of effort, it's inspiring to the team.
Talk a lot about how the next step for this franchise, getting to the conference after consecutive second rounds and getting to that conference finals. How satisfactory is it to get there now for you?
Well, and I think the way you have to look at it is whatever your ceiling is, or that's what you're striving for, and you're trying to go past whatever the expectations are for you. And if everyone commits to that, the challenge is to bring the best out of everybody. And so the goal is always to win a championship. And so we've got 8 wins, you need 16, right? And each one gets harder and harder. So you got to keep fighting, and you got to understand how important that is.
Tom, any early thoughts on Indiana and the problems that they pose and how they play and just the matchup in general?
And again, style of play, and they're an excellent basketball team, strong on both sides of the ball. Their ability to push the ball, so defensive transition. But when you look at their guard play, particularly with Halliburton, Nemhart, and McConnell, they can push and they can break you down off the dribble. So you got to be very disciplined in your approach. They can spread you out. Siakam and Turner are very talented bigs. So we understand what the challenge is.
Coach, you talked about.
Guys, play nice.
Coach, there were some different moments during the game. Can you go back to that second quarter when you guys went on that long run, the end of the first quarter going into the second quarter? What did you see that the team really executed there?
Well, I think there's always going to be a lot of runs in every game, and I think when you're playing a team that shoots the volume threes that they do, there's a variance in the game. There could be swings that very, very quickly both ways. And so you have to understand the discipline that you need. And then I felt like we were able to get stops, which got us into the open floor. And then we got some easy baskets, and that fueled our offense. And so I think being strong on both sides of the ball and then making good rim reads, making good decisions when we got in there, I thought that was important as well.
Cat seemed to come out with a different mindset tonight, offensively and defensively. What did you see in him tonight?
Yeah, I thought that helped set the tone for the game. I thought super aggressive to start off the game, got established, in the paint, and then the rebounding, and his pick and roll defense was outstanding. So I think that we have to play off that, but it gives us another threat. I thought we had a really balanced attack. I thought OG and McHale were phenomenal. Right, and with the defensive pressure that they were applying.
Coach, coming into the playoffs, there's a lot of talk about Cleveland and Boston, who are ahead of you, coming out of the East. Not only have you advanced, but you're now the home team. How much is that going to help in the next round?
Well, I think the important thing is to understand what goes into winning, and it starts with your preparation. So I think understanding we have to know Indiana extremely well, and then just concentrate on being ready for that first game. You have, in the playoffs, you have to earn your wins. They're not going to be given to you because you're home or you're road. You have to earn them with your play. And so I think that's the most important thing, is understanding what goes into your preparation.
This defensive strategy that you generally had throughout the series, especially like switching more on ball screens than you had throughout the regular season, when did you know you were going to do that against the Celtics? Like when you're playing them in the regular season, are you thinking about doing that in the playoffs?
You're getting more and more information, and then there's bigs that you go into the season with a plan for switching. Like you're going to switch in certain situations, and there were guys we weren't switching with. But then you also have to read the ball in the game. So sometimes maybe you're not in a particular switching group, but there's penetration and there's a problem. So that you have to recognize there's a problem. You got to take care of the ball, right? So that would put you into a switching situation. And so there's a lot that you do. You have to be good at your coverages. You have to be good at switching. You have to be good at blitzing, and then you have to be good at finishing your defense. Because anytime you put two on the ball, or the other thing is when you're switching and you got a big on a small, you're going to be vulnerable to being out rebounded unless you make the commitment to get back to bodies. And so there's a lot of discipline that goes into it.